Hi guys, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. Or if you are new here from Sarah Scrap's channel, welcome. I hope you find some inspiration while you're here. Today is another Creating with Collections day. This is, as a reminder, volume 4 featuring Cocoa Vanilla Storyteller. If you are new here or maybe you haven't seen this on my channel so far, this is basically my take on sort of the Kill a Kit videos we used to see years ago, with the slight twist of I'm not subscribing to a kit, I'm not using a kit, I sort of make a kit housed within a paper collection. That kind of changes from volume to volume. I think the first and second one I bought like the big collection pack. Storyteller, I somewhat cherry picked my supplies. For me, this is a fun challenge to run because it definitely helps me learn more about supplies that I gravitate towards, things that I definitely love, things that I don't find myself reaching for. I've even run into instances where I thought something would be something that I would love and I've yet to cut into it. So for me, it's definitely a fun challenge. I think volume 4 for me personally has been a little bit more fun, just having Sarah participating and being able to kind of see her take on very similar supplies. I think paper-wise, we had a lot of overlap. She double dipped on things like the floral dies and the puffy hearts, where I accidentally bought 2 sheets of stickers that I just can't seem to manage to use. And I didn't get any puffy hearts because I like to make my own. So to me, it's just kind of fun to see in like a video form somebody else sort of taking on this crazy challenge that I have come up with, and I absolutely love that she wanted to do it and asked if she could play along. To me, that's like it's like when you guys share layouts in my Facebook group and I get to see something that you were inspired to make based off of something that I shared. To me, that's just like extra inspiring, I guess. So for my layout today, I am leaning heavily into my scraps. I didn't intend to run kind of another sketch bundle mini challenge or anything like that. I just keep pulling out these single page sketches that I had purchased recently from Scrapbook Generation. I've used a couple on photos with our puppy, and this is another one from that bundle. I'll link it down below. I don't show the sketches in the videos because they are paid content. If you do see them in my videos, typically it's in a page protector with my photos kind of stashed in it. And yes, I understand you can kind of see a little bit of the sketch, but I'm not showing the complete sketch, and it's fine. So this one depicted a bunch of circles, like artfully, randomly arranged. And I was kind of shocked that I was drawn to it, but I think what I was focusing on was the fact that it would be a good use of a lot of small pieces of paper that I still have left. And I knew that I could make almost any sort of photo situation work in this like vertical column of photos. And I've already put the sketch away, so I'm not 100% sure like how close I followed it. I may have added that 5th photo that's going to come in here in a little bit. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It might be there. By the time I make a layout, do the photos, kind of put the layout back in my kit, I put the sketch away. This one, I actually think I finished it like 2 weeks ago, so by the time I sit down and I'm watching the footage back, it's kind of like I'm watching it for the first time with you guys. So sometimes I don't remember a lot of the details. So I apologize for that, I guess. In the upper right corner, you can see I wholeheartedly thought I was going to use my new butterfly dies that I had recently purchased. I tell you guys all the time, shop clearance sales, shop warehouse sales, shop those 40-50% off sales. These butterflies came out probably over a year ago, and I remember seeing them when they first came out and like all these really inspiring projects. And I just didn't want to spend the money. So I was like, you know what? If I ever see them go on clearance, I'll go ahead and pick them up. So I think I got all three sets for the price of like what one of them would have been full price retail. So I just kind of make sure that I check my email and I look out for the big like warehouse sales and the big clearance sales because you can usually get some pretty good deals. The only downside to that is when I share things like those type of dies in videos, a lot of times they're going to be harder to find. So I do apologize for that, but I do try to tell you guys my sort of realistic approach to shopping for things like tools is I know that when somebody comes out with something immediately and I'm like, "Ooh, I love it. Like I kind of want to get it." I will almost force myself not to order it right away because I know myself. I know that I'm a procrastinator. I know that I don't work quickly with things. I will purchase something and not even cut into it for 6 months at least. And I'm okay with that. So, this is probably never going to be a channel where you're going to see like the latest and greatest and products are going to be linked and they're always going to be in stock because they're brand new. It's just, it doesn't work for me. Like I said, I shop sales. Um, I get to things when I'm in the mood for it. I'm definitely somebody that works on projects based on my mood. I read based on my mood, and I tend to be a little bit more successful. And like lately, I was really in the mood to use this kit. So even knowing that Sarah, for example, schedules her things out almost for like the whole month, and she will tell me what dates work for her, and I know, okay, I need to have my videos ready to go on these days and these days, but I might actually have more layouts than that. I will kind of wait for her so that we can have projects posting at the same time if possible. Having done this challenge enough times, I know that my brain will grab a bunch of dies and I can eke out a lot out of what looks like nothing. So I am a little worried about how many layouts I'm going to end up with because I don't want to have too many more than where Sarah ends because I don't want to have to either be playing catch up or posting a bunch of videos like in between. But it's whatever happens is what's going to happen, and I'm okay with that because our workflow and our methods are never going to um, like sync up completely, and that's 100% okay. That's part of the challenge that I really like is the different takes on this. Like, yes, we're starting with similar supplies, but very different takes. Now, because I'm following a sketch that has a whole bunch of circles, I just grabbed this. It's actually two sets of really old dies from Spellbinders. I want to say it's part of their like nestabilities, or it had a name because it was basic shapes that you could cut and then you could run them back through your machine with an embossing pad and it would give you like this embossed, detailed, framed edge vibe to it. I just use them as basic circle dies and I kind of haven't replaced them because there's not really anything wrong with them. And then the really small circle dies that are on that magnet sheet are from that Altenew Mandala Maker one that I've told you guys about. I've used it to do tiny hearts. It basically came with hearts, circles, and like little teardrop looking shapes that you could make like a DIY mandala pattern with, or it coordinated with a stamp set. I didn't get the stamp set. I got it for things like this because I think the smallest circle in that nested set is maybe like 1 inch. And I like having like the smaller things. I definitely could have filled it in with like enamel dots or Nuvo drops or sequins or something like that. But I really like using the paper and the scraps. And this was one of those instances where looking at my photos, I knew I was going to want to use a lot of pink. With all of those random scattered circles, I knew that I would struggle, and this is just from using sketches a lot and going through this specific process a lot. Like I said, I'm learning the products that I like and I'm learning techniques that I don't like. I kind of knew that going into this style of a sketch that using all of the patterns together was not going to work for me. It was going to feel too chaotic. It was going to feel like just too many things going on. So I decided to kind of take it back into like a 2 or 3 tone monochromatic tone on tone type of look to it. With these being photos of my daughter, I knew that I was going to basically set myself up for some torture looking for more pink and more reds in these scraps. I've said before in a couple videos that every time I decide, I really want some pink, I keep finding pink scraps that I can somehow use. Little slivers of red, things like that. And again, this is part of the process that I tend to enjoy. However, these are the layouts that come towards the end of this series that take longer for me. At the beginning, I tend to do like large strips of pattern paper. I tend to be more linear. I tend to be more double pages, large photos. And then I kind of start progressing down as my supplies dwindle. I wouldn't get as many layouts out of a challenge like this if I kept doing like the large pieces. There's nothing wrong with that. I like variety. I like different creative jumping off points. Sometimes I start with photos, sometimes I start with a die set. I just, like I said, I go where my mood takes me. And this is one of those layouts and one of these sketches where, knowing I didn't want to have all those patterns, knowing that I don't find randomly placed shapes to be easy for me, instead of going at it like I would a different layout, like you guys have watched me, if you've watched me for a while, you guys know I tend to follow, like, I'll do my photos, I'll do all my paper, and I kind of tend to work somewhat in a systematic order. These are the types of layouts when I'm doing a lot of die cutting, I'm getting a lot of stuff out of scraps, I'm making a lot of decisions and a lot of choices. I won't approach it from that same order. So instead of going and putting all my photos down and all of the circles down and doing all of the stitching and coming in with different embellishments and kind of going down in size, I literally kind of worked from the lower left corner to the upper right corner. And as I went, I was making like base decisions all the way up to sort of finishing detailed decisions as I worked across. That's not normal for me, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, I go with where my mood takes me. I knew at this point that I wasn't liking where I was arranging the circles as I was getting to that upper right corner. So instead of continuing to sit there and push circles around and keep die cutting stuff and just keep messing with it when I knew I wasn't liking it, I just went back to the areas that I did like where the circles were arranged, and I continued to work on finishing details like the stitching, the butterflies, the teeny tiny die cut circles. I basically just pushed my big shot over to my other desk, and every time I was like, you know what, I kind of need like a smallish yellow circle here, I would go dig through my scraps, cut out one circle, and come back. And as I kind of got an area figured out, I would just move a little bit up to that corner. So at this point, I've decided on title. I like it. I'm going to commit to it. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and put my journaling on that large circle, which I had layered with some vellum and stitched the 2 layers together. I did my journal strip technique that I've been doing with the Hero Arts sentiment die. I'll post that video up in the upper right. And instead of stacking them, I went back to my favorite foam strips because I wanted that sort of foamy dimension. I wanted you to be able to see like the shadows underneath it. Again, it's what I'm in the mood for in the moment. I know that that doesn't necessarily mean that my videos and my channel will be the type that you can kind of come to and you know that there's going to be a routine to my system. You know that the layout's going to start and finish and the middle's going to kind of be the same. That doesn't work for me. That's not who I am. So I knew when I was editing this video that it was going to be a little bit longer. It was going to be a little bit more boring. And it was just, I didn't want to cut out my process, and I didn't want to try, I don't know how to word it. Like, I wanted you guys to see, in a sense, in real time, how I approach this type of sketch and this type of like decision making, especially when I don't have every pattern paper to my disposal at this point. Like, there's no pattern in this that has yellow and pink plaid. There is that rainbow plaid, and because I'm die cutting, I'm able to strategically put that circle die and only get those colors out of it. And then as I was running out of different types of patterns, I just went back to my favorite wood grain and brought that in as like a neutral and was able to kind of mix that in here and there. And I cut out a lot of this part because I just kept moving circles around and I wasn't loving any of it. Eventually, I just have to kind of settle on this one doesn't feel perfect, but it's okay. So just start gluing things down. I feel like sometimes, you know, when you're working on a layout and you're doing like that 3 cluster thing, I feel like one of them always just feels really good. It feels perfect. One of them kind of feels not quite as perfect. And then you always have that random one that's like, what happened? It's fine though. We've glued things down. We're done. We're going to move on and we're not going to think about that 3rd cluster. Oh, this is another, like, I do this a lot too, where if I can't make a decision, a lot of times if I take photos of it and then I can kind of swipe back and forth in my camera reel, I can see it from like a different perspective and it's a little bit easier for me to make a decision. And sometimes I will straight up send this to a friend and be like, one or two, pick one or two for me because I can't make the choice and I'd rather you make the choice. And if I hate it, then I'll just blame you. I'm kidding, but still, sometimes it helps to just shoot it out there. That's one of the things that I like seeing in my Facebook group as well, is somebody will post a layout and they'll be like, this is what's glued down, this is what's not glued down, this is the title I'm thinking of, can somebody please help me figure out where I should put the title or what color I should make the title. And I love seeing like the interaction in the comments because everybody has a different personal preference for stuff. And sometimes you'll see a suggestion that you wouldn't have considered for yourself. And I don't know, it's one of those like inspiring things. So again, I'm doing the same thing that I did with all the stuff that's out of the frame, is as I made a decision, I just glued things down and then I kind of progressively worked on making the circles look less plain, bringing in more interesting things. I brought out those sticker sheets. I'm telling you, I feel like every time I bring them out, I can maybe find a use for 1 or 2 of them. I think I finally narrowed down the fact that for me, the stickers, especially at the top, don't match the paper to me. Like every time the papers that I've chosen and the style of layout that I've chosen, like they just don't work. So those sticker sheets might be the supply that I just decide not to force myself to find a way to use. And those are the things at the end that I say, you know what, it's okay. I used some of them and these are going to go in the trash and it's fine. Here's the photo of my completed layout and the detail photos. Again, please make sure you open the description box, links to Sarah's channel, the sketch bundle, if Storyteller is still in stock anywhere, all that good stuff will be down in the description box, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.